Hello, everybody. This is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Part 3, Chapter 21. I was coming for you, said Petritsky, entering the room. Your accounts took a long time today, didn't they? Are you through? All through, said Vronsky, smiling only with his eyes and continuing to twist the ends of his mustache deliberately, as though after this work of regulation were accomplished, any rash and quick motion might destroy it. You always come out of this operation as from a bath, said Petritsky. I come from Gritska's. They're waiting for you. Their colonel's name was Demon, but they all called him Gritska, a diminutive of Grigory. Vronsky looked at his comrade without replying. His thoughts were elsewhere. Then that music is at his house, he remarked, hearing the well-known sounds of waltzes and polkas played by a military band at some distance. What's the celebration? Serpukovskoy has come. Ah, said Vronsky, I did not know it. The smile in his eyes was brighter than ever. He had himself elected to sacrifice his ambition to his love, and again he argued that he was happy in his choice. He therefore could feel neither envy at Serpukovskoy nor vexation because of him. Returning to the regiment had not come to see him. Ah, I'm very glad. Colonel Demon lived in a vast seigneurial mansion. When Vronsky arrived, he found all the company assembled on the lower front balcony. What first struck his eyes as he reached the door were the singers of the regiment, in summer kittles, grouped around a keg of vodka, and the healthy, jovial face of the colonel surrounded by his officers. He was standing on the front step of the balcony, screaming louder than the music, which was playing one of Offenbach's quadrilles. He was giving some orders and gesticulating to a group of soldiers on one side. A group of soldiers, the Wachtmeister, and a few non-commissioned officers reached the balcony at the same instant with Vronsky. The colonel, who had been to the table, returned with a glass of champagne to the front steps and proposed a toast. To our old comrade, the brave General Prince Serpukovskoy. Hurrah! Behind the colonel came Serpukovskoy, smiling with a glass in his hand. You're always young, Bondarenko, said he to the Wachtmeister, a ruddy-cheeked soldier who had stood directly in front of him in the front row. Vronsky had not seen Serpukovskoy for 3 years. He had grown older and wore whiskers, but his regular and handsome features were not more striking than the nobility and gentleness of his whole bearing. The only change that Vronsky noted in him was the slight but constant radiance which can generally be seen in the faces of people who have succeeded, and made everybody else believe in their success. Vronsky had seen it in other people, and now he detected it in Serpukovskoy. As he descended the steps, he caught sight of Vronsky, and a smile of joy irradiated his face. He nodded to him, lifting his wine cup as a greeting, and at the same time to signify that first he must drink with the Wachtmeister, who, standing perfectly straight, had puckered his lips for the kiss. No, here he is, cried the colonel, but Yashvin was telling me that you were in one of your bad humors. Serpukovskoy, having kissed the Wachtmeister's moist, fresh lips, wiped his mouth with his handkerchief and came to Vronsky. No, how glad I am, he said, shaking hands and drawing him to one side. Bring him along, cried the colonel to Yashvin, pointing to Vronsky and descending to join the soldiers. Why didn't you come to the races yesterday? I expected to see you, said Vronsky to Serpukovskoy, studying his face. I did come, but too late. Excuse me, he said, and turning to his adjutant, please have this distributed with my thanks. Only have it get to the men. And he hurriedly took out his pocketbook, 300-ruble note, and handed them to him. Vronsky, will you have something to eat or drink? Asked Yashvin. Hey, bring something to the count here. There, now drink this. The feasting at the colonel's lasted a long time. They drank a great deal. They toasted Serpukovskoy and carried him on their shoulders. Then the colonel and Petritsky danced a Russian dance, while the regimental singers made the music, and when he was tired he sat down on a bench near the door and tried to prove to Yashvin Russia's superiority over Prussia, especially in cavalry charges. And the gaiety calmed down for a moment. Serpukovskoy went into the house to wash his hands and found Vronsky in the lavatory. Vronsky was pouring on the water. He had taken off his kittel and was sousing his head with some handsome neck under the faucet and rubbing them with his hands. When he had finished his ablutions, he sat down by Serpukhowskoy on the divanchik, and a conversation very interesting to both parties arose between them. "I've learned all about you through my wife," said Serpukhowskoy. "I'm glad that you see her so often. She's a friend of Varya's, and they are the only women in Petersburg that I care to see," said Vronsky with a smile. He smiled because he foresaw on what subject the conversation would turn, and it was not displeasing to him. "The only ones," repeated Serpukhowskoy, also smiling. "Yes, and I too know all about you, but not through your wife only," said Vronsky, cutting short by the suddenly stern expression of his face the allusion. "And I'm very glad at your success, but not the least surprised. I expected even more." Serpukhowskoy smiled again. This flattering opinion of him pleased him, and he saw no reason to hide it. "I, on the contrary, I confess frankly expected less, but I'm glad, very glad. I'm ambitious, it's my weakness, and I confess it." "Perhaps you wouldn't confess it if you weren't successful," suggested Vronsky. "I think so," replied Serpukhowskoy. "I will not say that life would not be worth living without it, but it would be tiresome. Of course, I may deceive myself, but it seems to me that I possess the qualifications necessary to the sphere of activity which I have chosen, and that in my hands power of any sort soever would be better placed than in the hands of many whom I know," said Serpukhowskoy with a radiant expression of success. "And therefore, the nearer I am to power, the more contented I feel." "Perhaps this is true for you, but not for everybody. I used to think so, and yet I live, and no longer find that ambition is the only aim of existence." "Вот оно, cried Serpukhowskoy, laughing. "I began by saying that I heard about your refusal." "Of course I approve of you. There is a way for everything, and I think that your action itself was well, but you did not do it in the right way. What's done is done, and you know I never go back on what I've done. Besides, I'm very well fixed. Very well for a time, but you will not be contented so forever. I do not refer to your brother. He, a very good fellow, just like this host of yours. Hark, hear that?" he added, hearing the shouts and hurrahs. "He may be happy, but this will not satisfy you." "I don't say that I'm satisfied. Da, not this alone. Such men as you are necessary." "To whom?" "To whom? To society. To Russia. Russia needs men. She needs a party. Otherwise all is going, all will go, to the dogs." "What do you mean? Burtoneff's party against the Russian communists?" "No," said Serpukhowskoy, with a grimace of vexation that he should be accused of any such nonsense. "Tout ça est un blague. This always has been and always will be. There aren't any communists, but intriguing people must needs invent some malignant, dangerous party. It's an old joke. No, a powerful party is needed of independent men, like you and me." "But why?" Vronsky named several influential men, "but why aren't they among the independents?" "Simply because they have not, through birth, an independent position or a name, and they've not lived near the sun, as we have. They can be bought by money or honors, and to maintain themselves they must invent a direction, and they must follow this direction, to which they do not attach any meaning, or which may even be bad. And all this direction is only a means for providing them a home at the expense of the crown and certain salaries. Cela n'est pas plus fin que ça. When you look at their cards, but maybe I'm worse or more foolish than they, though I don't see why I ought to be worse than they. But I have, and you have, the one inestimable advantage that it is harder to buy us, and men of this stamp are more than ever necessary." Vronsky listened attentively, not only because of the meaning of his words, but because of their connection with Serpukhowskoy's own case, who was about to engage with the struggle, and was entering into what official world with its sympathies and antipathies, while he was occupied only with the interests of his squadron. Vronsky perceived how strong Serpuhovskoy might be, with his unfailing aptitude for invention, his quickness of comprehension, his intellect and fluent speech so rarely met with in the circle in which he lived, and, shameful as it was, he felt a twinge of envy. "All that I need for this is one essential thing," said he, "the desire for power. I had it, but it's gone." "Excuse me, I don't believe you," said Serpuhovskoy, smiling. "No, it's true. Now, to speak sincerely," persisted Vronsky. "Yes, true, now. That is another affair. This now will not last forever." "Perhaps." "You say perhaps, and I tell you, certainly not," continued Serpuhovskoy, as though he divined his thought. "And this is why I wanted to see you. You declined as you felt was necessary. I understand that, but it's not necessary for you to stick to it. All I ask for you is carte blanche for the future. I'm not your patron, and yet why should I not take you under my protection? Have you not often done as much for me? I hope that our friendship stands above that." "Da," said he, smiling at him tenderly, "like a woman. Give me carte blanche. Come out of your regiment, and I will push you so that it won't be known. But understand that I want nothing except that all should be as it has been." Serpuhovskoy arose and stood facing him. "You say that all must be as it has been. I understand you, but listen to me. We are of the same age. Maybe you've known more women than I." His smile and his gesture told Vronsky that he would touch gently and delicately on the tender spot. "But I am married, and in faith, as some one or other wrote, he who knows only his wife and loves her understands all women better than if he had known 1,000. Coming directly called Vronsky to an officer who looked in the room and said he was sent by the colonel. Vronsky now felt curiously to hear and to know what Serpuhovskoy would say to him, and this is my idea. Women are the principal stumbling block in the way of a man's activity. And this is my idea. Women are the principal stumbling block in the way of a man's activity. It is hard to love a woman and to do anything else. There's only one way to love with comfort and without hindrance, and that is to marry. And how to explain to you what I mean, continued Serpuhovskoy, who was fond of metaphors. Da, suppose you had to carry a fardeau. Your hands are of no good until they fasten the fardeau on your back, and so it is with marriage. And I found this out when I got married. My hands suddenly became free. But to carry this fardeau without marriage, your hands will be so full that you can't do anything. Look at Mazenkov, Kuprov. They ruined their careers through women. But what women, said Vronsky, remembering the Frenchwoman and the actress on whom these two men had thrown themselves away. The higher the woman is in the social scale, the greater the difficulty. It is just the same as not to carry your fardeau in your hands, but to tear it from some other man. You've never loved, murmured Vronsky, looking straight ahead and thinking of Anna. Perhaps. But you think of what I've told you, and one thing more. Women are all more material than men. We make something immense out of love, but they're all terre-à-terre. Right away, he cried to the lackey who was coming into the room. But the lackey was not a messenger for him, as he supposed. The lackey brought Vronsky a note. A man brought this from Princess Tverskaya. Vronsky hastily read the note and grew red in the face. I have a headache. I'm going home, said he to Serpuhovskoy. No, proshchai, will you give me carte blanche? We will talk about it by and by. I'll meet you in Petersburg.